Hello, this is Marlon Barrios Solano for Dance Tech, and we are here at Dance Theater Workshop in New York City for the opening of Bebe Miller's piece, Necessary Beauty.
Hello, Marlon.
Hello, very nice to have you here.
Oh, it's great to be here. Kind of in the middle of the landing place project, probably. I don't recall exactly. I had an experience that we all have similar things of. I was driving in Ohio one evening, rainy evening, and I was just kind of lost in thought and just thick-headed problem solving, and a flock of birds seemed to just took off and across the road, and the windshield wipers are going, the music is on the radio, and it all seems to be in the right time, and I allowed myself to kind of get swept up in that, and like the stress went away, and the problem was solved, and it felt like one of the necessary moments of our lives, that we live for these. We live for this release, this transcendence in a way, and that was a necessary beauty. And so I didn't think of the title then, but that idea that the beauty is not a thing to look at, but an experience. And so then, in making the piece, and not even thinking like I'm going to make that, we decided not to focus on let's recreate an experience, but rather how do we, on one level, just invite the idea that witnessing a performance could be one of those experiences where a banal moment becomes transcendent in some way. And that was a kind of a beginning, a foundational level, I think, for Ayn Gordon has developed text, which is really, he interviewed the dancers about, little tiny bits of things in your memory. Like, do you remember, did your parents used to hurry? How did they bend to sit in a chair?
Kind of like in-between moments.
Yeah. Like kind of like an overheard conversation of that doesn't seem to be important, but suddenly you go like, oh yeah, right. So there was that level. I think also on this virtual company level, coming together with dancers every few months. Do you just spend a lot of time reviewing phrases, or do you come up with another strategy? And for this particular piece, we decided to really work improvisationally and refining a score in and around set material, but keeping the focus on the spontaneousness of the moments that we are looking for.
I can't tell if it's just because I'm firstborn. I hold their hands all the time. I don't care.
This is a little bit of a perspective. You're thinking about where is the performance starting in space-wise.
Yes.
Was. I also felt a little bit of a struggle. And you just like almost. I felt like there she is, her postmodern New York downtown mind struggling with the performance.
In one of the residencies at the Wexner, we kind of set this up, thinking, okay, I want to work on a white floor. I don't know. And they set it up sideways so that we had a long distance to look. And in looking at this white Marley and the screens, I was also looking a lot at the other frame that is sort of, not included. The outside, the stuff, the ropes hanging on the wall, the coffee cups over here, the dark wood floor all around. And I got really intrigued by how we draw the frame around, like, this is what you should look at. and how so much of life happens outside of that. So it is a very deliberate walking in and out of da-dum, and then changing the frame. Talon was so eloquent about this, but you know, in our cultural life, we know we're used to thinking of landscape. It's beauty, you know, beautiful picture, portraits, and particularly because this is a group of 6 women, you know, that comes up a lot. You know, visual beauty, still life. You know, the arrangement of all the things that say like, oh, you know, that's just so. And interesting how memory sort of floats through all of those, and so one of the not the first image, but one of the first main images you see is out of these 2 very white, bright screens. Slowly, they just start becoming a little grayer, or a little more shape, maybe here and there, and it's like this landscape painting emerges out of the background, and it's by an artist named Albert Bierstadt. It was painted in the 1860s, kind of pre-impressionism, romantic era, and it's like the Sierra Nevadas. It's like this, you know, beautiful, you know, the sun is coming through the clouds, there's deer, there's waterfall. It's just like what has become the ultimate kitsch of you know, this used to be the most beautiful and the most reproduced image in America, but it is now at the level of just, you know, it's on a hotel wall. It's like kitsch. So just that sense of, you know, the history of beauty in our perception of, is it still beautiful? Does it count? So anyway, there's this huge painting that takes up both of these screens, and then over the course of the next half hour or so, it becomes smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. You see the frame around it, it just kind of shifts over, and it's a picture that hangs on a wall, and then there's a door on the same wall that opens up, and kind of you see real life behind that. There's somebody watching a parade, and then suddenly there's like there's a beach outside, and a little kid, and so it's like plays with memory and a nightscape, and then other things happen. A series of portraits of the dancers themselves, and a series of still lifes. So it plays around very, very consciously with our sense of what beauty is, as well as the experience. There's a main score that when we're improvising, we're thinking of, and there's something about slipping icons, so moving through a sense of, this is something not, and so the body keeps on kind of finding form, but letting it tip and slide or forget, and I think that both there's an opening solo and a closing solo, that they both are there's some phrase work in the middle of them both, but each dancer does a masterful job, I think, about living in that moment and beginning again and forgetting and remembering something else and being present. The landing place took 3 years to build. Necessary Beauty has taken 2 years. I think what's interesting is the tone of the room more so than the piece itself. So, did they have a sense of humor? Good jokes is good. And a willingness to be in there for the long haul and to invest in the collaborative conversation. I feel very much like the director, but like I keep on like, what do you think? There's a real exchange between us, and often when we're rehearsing, I mean, sometimes we have only like dance only rehearsals, but sometimes there's the dancers and Talvin and the music and Ain doing text. I mean, there's 2 tech tables with people on their Mac computers opened up, in the studio. So, I mean, rather in the theater. So, it's a very immersive environment. It's hard not to feel a little pressured sometimes to don't waste time, get it done.
Yeah.
But it's okay, and it's kind of working for me right now. In 1999, I had taken a trip to Eritrea for 3 weeks to work with a dance company there. They hardly knew anything about contemporary dance. I mean, really, they came in, little pumps and jeans and dancing on a marble floor. So it was not their first language.
Yeah.
Release technique, what? But what was so interesting is that I knew I was foreign there. I could feel that they knew that I was foreign, even from a distance. So what was that foreignness? We looked alike, we were the same color, but my movement, my sense of being in was different enough. And I think if anybody who travels feels that. You must, like how close people stand, how they use their heads and their hands when they're talking.
How long the conversation lasts, or even if you add language.
All of those signals, and I felt that I was foreign, and as much as I really enjoyed being there. So fast forward a couple of years, in just thinking, okay, a piece, something about place, about foreignness, and the opportunity to work with the motion capture felt like, oh, here's a foreign language that maybe will help me illustrate something about foreignness. And I didn't know how that was going to work, but I thought, here are two things I don't, that are foreign. Boom. Put that together. I think a lot of times, particularly with trying to find a digital answer to things, it involves that conceptual leap where there really isn't I wasn't trying to illustrate foreignness. I just thought, oh, here's a foreign thing, go. And then eventually we find the links. Somehow we got around to the idea of cataclysm. Cataclysm is, place that was in distress. Ideas just start erupting, and one of the cataclysm, and Maya found this beautiful waves and backwards landslides that she had on video, and kind of I guess translating that into action. I mean, we made some phrases, And I kept on saying, no, it's too much. It's too much against that. And then eventually just got to the place like, what is cataclysmic in the body? And so we had the dancers, they each like kind of arch back as far as they can. And then, stay there, effort. And then ding.
Yeah. And we have that total empathy with that total off and stress.
It's we share that as humans. We know what that feels like.
I remember the 2002, that think tank that you put those wearables and the MIDI dancer of Troika Ranch, and I remember in the very beginning that you were kind of skeptical, and after
I was very skeptical.
Yeah,
I was very skeptical because I'd had an earlier experience with another suit. This was a Yamaha suit that was set up to percussion instruments, and you go bang, bang, bang. And it just seemed really stupid. But I don't know. I think, there were a number of people, I can't remember all of them, who were assembled at this think tank. And so not only was it the Troika Ranch suit, but just other ideas about process, about systems, about...
it was a think tank on interactive technology. Kind of by Johannes Wiringer, that he put together all this really interesting group of people.
Scott De La Junta, Johannes, and I can't remember who else.
Yes.
Mark and Don.
Yeah, Mark and Don. And,
but what maybe put me over was putting on that suit at that time felt... I realized that as a performer, I had a really different insight into triggering particular videos or sound scores as I was improvising. And it was very improvisational, but as I was improvising and creating an environment that I had some control over and not. And it was a way of shifting my own state, kind of with some control, that I found pretty fascinating. So it was more of where it took me as a performer that got me interested, not so much what it looked like, but almost like a state of mind.
Yeah. How can you say that this experience with technology has affected your research or your process?
Well, there's something about, and I'll just for a minute just kind of describe something that's been was sort of a found process in Necessary Beauty, which was watching them watch video to learn material, and watching the watching, and then kind of incorporating that state of, these dancers who are so skilled, and they're looking at this TV screen with this blank face and all moving together. And I just, it has led me to reframe, literally, just even what counts here, what's important. And so I think that I feel much more confident and interested in moving outside of knowing that there's another life outside of just being in the studio and like, wow, what is that movement? But that all of this, our conversation is happening inside of this very busy office right outside of us. So that sense of you're capturing.
What is the boundary?
Yeah, the boundaries of experience. Yeah. That said, I think that the next piece I don't know if it's going to have technology or not, but there's something about, the rise and fall and then building and like, oh my God, premiere. There's something hyperventilating in this whole process that I am really going to try to work against. And my beginning of the next process may start off by going to the agricultural school at Ohio State and watching them milk goats, because it's something that happens on a regular, everyday basis, no matter what, whether it's a holiday, work
no
day,
big deal.
No big deal. and the consistency, I'm really, it's led me now to kind of think about what's consistent in our lives, in our working process, rather than what's the peak and what's the big focus.
Yeah, what is it necessary in between, or the everyday common thing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Bibi.
Well, thanks, Marlon. It was great.
And great. And let's keep the conversation.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Hello, this is my. It's like dance tech. Hello, did you tell me? I don't understand why I should not say it. In this episode of Dance Tech, no. Did you notice that I got a haircut? Boop. Well, cut.